Hello, and welcome to the Armorer's Store series on armoring. This segment is on troubleshooting on strip. What we will do is we'll take you through each of the weapons, foil, epee, and saber, and show you how to quickly diagnose problems that occurred during fencing. Before we do that, though, I want to talk about some of the things that you want to carry with you as you go to the strip to make your call. I normally carry a lot of these items on my belt, and they consist of jumper cables, a short epee body cord, a test box, a shorting block, a multi-purpose tool, and a mask cord. Now, as we go to the strip and we do the diagnosis, you'll see how each one of these are used. Also, in my book, The Care and Feeding of All Things Fencing, I've included a flow chart for each of the weapons that will take you step by step through the troubleshooting process. As we go through this on strip, you'll be able to follow along if you have the book as to see how we do this. Again, one of your main functions as going onto the strip is to solve these problems as they become evident. If you're a referee, this segment will be most beneficial to you in helping you to diagnose some of the more obvious problems and eliminate them before the armorer gets to the strip, or to be able to tell him that what you have checked and help him focus on some of the less obvious problems. Now, before we go to the actual strip to start doing some diagnosis, let me point out a couple of fundamentals that you need to keep in mind whenever you're doing troubleshooting on the strip. First, start at the tip of the weapon and work your way back to the box. Second, when you find a problem, do not assume that that piece of equipment is where the problem is. You may have multiple problems from that point forward to the tip. Be sure to recheck each piece of equipment from the problem point out to the tip of the weapon. And finally, third, the number one troubleshooting step for anything that is electrical, make sure it's plugged in. Okay, welcome to foil. Foils are very friendly when they've got a problem. They'll tell you that they have a problem. They will do it by either one of two ways, either a continuous white light or an intermittent white light. Because this is a normally closed circuit, whenever that circuit is broken, it triggers the white light. Sometimes, though, you may have a situation where you don't have a light at all. This one's pretty simple to diagnose. The first thing you do is check to see if you still have a tip in the weapon. There is a flange on the inside of the tip that is held in place by deformed metal. Over time, this metal can weaken and the tip will fly out, leaving behind the collar and the flange in contact with each other, being held in place by the spring. This keeps the circuit closed, so therefore you can't open it and give any indication that there's a problem by a light. So, if you don't have a light, most likely it is because the tip is gone. If you have a constant white light, first thing you want to do is check the body cord connection. Make sure that it is tight, the pins are in contact. If next you want to check for any broken equipment. Is there a broken wire within the connector? Is there a broken wire in the body cord? One of the first steps you can do is remove the body cord from the weapon. Short the B and the C pins against the guard. If the light goes out, that means that the problem is most likely the weapon. If not, reconnect the body cord to the weapon. Go back to the connection between the body cord and the reel. Partially open that connection, making sure that the pins are still in contact with the reel, and then short against the B and the C. If the light goes off, then your problem is either the body cord or the weapon. Check both. If it does not go out, reconnect, go back to the connection between the reel and the floor cord, and repeat the same process. Partially pull the connection out, short against the B and the C. If that doesn't go off, then go back to the machine and repeat the process. Remember, any time that you find the light that goes off, any piece of equipment from that point towards the tip of the weapon can be bad, and check them all out. If you have an intermittent light, that means that something is loose. First, check the barrel of the weapon. Make sure that it is tight. Remember, the circuit goes from the wire to the spring to the flange to the collar to the barrel and then to the blade of the weapon. If any of those are loose, they can break the circuit and cause the white light to fire. Again, you can go back and check the body cord by leaving it in the weapon and manipulating the wire at the connection. If you get an intermittent white light, that means that you have an intermittent short or break in the body cord at that point. Again, if the intermittent doesn't occur, go back and check each piece of equipment as you go back towards the machine. Once you find the intermittent break, it is most likely that that piece of the equipment is the one that has the issue. However, that doesn't mean that everything else has been eliminated. So, that's basic testing for foil on strip. There are other things. If you get the wrong colored light, or if you hit a lame and you get a white light rather than the colored light, if you can't find a dead spot on the lame, take the tip of your weapon and press it against the crocodile clip of your opponent's body cord. If you still get a white light, go to the connection between the body cord and the reel and press the tip against the A line while it's plugged into the reel. If that doesn't work, go to the reel, partially unplug the connection between the reel and the floor cord, and press the tip against the A line there. If that doesn't work, then go back to the machine. Alright, so we've done the troubleshooting for foil on strip. Let's move on to épée. On the foil segment, I said that foils are very friendly because they will tell you that when something is wrong. Épées, on the other hand, are not so cooperative. As a matter of fact, they're almost downright evil. Basically, they will sit there and dare you to find the problem. Normally what will happen with an épée is that you will have a broken wire, or if you touch, you don't get any lights at all. So, here's a scenario. You make what to you is an obvious touch. You step back and there's no light. So what's the first thing you do? It is not to touch your weapon. If you think there is something wrong, present your weapon to the referee. If for any reason you touch your weapon, you have just given up your right to have it checked and have the touch either awarded or annulled. The referee should start by checking to make sure that your body cord is still plugged into the reel. Then he will check the inside of the weapon to make sure that the wires are still connected to the A and the B sockets. Then he will check to see if the barrel is loose, or to make sure that you still have a tip, and then he will test. If the weapon goes off, then you don't have a valid protest. If it does not, then you need to go into the troubleshooting techniques that we're going to talk about here in a minute. So, if it finds the weapon is not working, then normally they will just replace the weapon, plug it in. If this weapon doesn't work, then you have probably a problem with your body cord or one of the other pieces of equipment. What you do is pull out your body cord from the connection and short against the A and the B pins. Those are the two that are closest together. If the box goes off, then you have a problem with that weapon also. If you get no light, plug it back into the weapon, go to the body cord and reel connection, partially open that connection, short against the A and the B pins. If you get a light, that means that either the body cord or the weapon are both bad. Check those out independently. If you get no light, go back to the connection between the reel and the floor cord, partially open it, short against the pins, and repeat this process all the way back to the machine. If you touch your opponent's weapon and you get a light, check your opponent's guard for rust or corrosion. Check your own tip for corrosion. If you find that both of these items are clean and free of corrosion, partially unplug your opponent's body cord from his weapon. Press your tip against the C line. If the light goes off, reconnect it, go to the connection between the body cord and the reel, partially open it, press against the C line of that. If you get a light, close that and troubleshoot back to the machine as we did before checking the body cord. Okay, we've done foil and we've done epee. Let's move on to saber. An action occurs, referee yells halt. If there's a valid light, no problem. If there's a touch to the mask and there's no light, check the mask cord. Is it still attached or is it broken? If the mask is still good, then you want to go and test against the lame. If you don't get a light against the lame, then take the weapon and touch it against your opponent's crocodile clip at the back of his jacket. If you don't get a light, partially unplug the body cord from the reel. Touch the weapon against the A line. If you don't get a valid light, close the connection, go to the connection between the reel and the floor cord. Again, touch the weapon against the A line and work your way back to the machine that way. If you get either a constant or an intermittent white light, you have basically the same kinds of problems that you found with foil. There is a loose connection somewhere. First, unplug the body cord from the weapon and short B and the C line against the guard. Make sure that when you do that, you don't contact one of the insulated areas on the inside of the guard. Make sure you have good clean metal contact. If the white light goes away, then there's something wrong with the weapon. It could be either a loose connection or check to make sure that the sockets are tight. If the white light persists, go to the body cord reel connection, partially unplug it, short between the B and the C line. If it goes out, then you know that your problem is either the body cord or the weapon. Repeat the process back to the machine until constant light goes off. If you have an intermittent light, that means something is loose. The first things you can do is unplug the body cord from the weapon and spread the pins to make sure that you have good contact there. Also check to make sure that the grip is tight and that all your connections within the socket are tight. If the intermittent light persists and you know that you have a good weapon and a good body cord, check the connections at the reels and the floor cords and make sure that those are tight. You can also check this by taking the connector and rotating or twisting or manipulating the wire to see if you get any intermittent lights. This will indicate that there's a broken wire somewhere in the connection. Do this all the way back to the machine. So we've talked about the weapons, and there are some other issues that we need to be aware of as an armorer going out on a strip call. One of the most common ones now is a grounding issue on the strips. Basically, we have two types of grounded strips that are in use today. We have ones that are aluminum panels that either come in 1/2 meter or 1 meter segments, or we have flexible cloth type strips. One of the main issues with the panel strips is the fact that the interlocking design is not such that you maintain constant contact between the two panels. Therefore, you may have a segment or a portion of the strip that becomes separated oh so slightly from the other panel and breaks that. The remedy for this is to kick the panels back into place, and there are a number of techniques that you can use it. One of which that I use is called the goose step method, where you stand and slam your foot back on the panel and move it back into place, moving your way all the way down the strip, making sure that everything is firmly in place. Then you secure the final panel by whichever method you use. The other thing is to check to make sure that whatever grounding wire that you have between the machine and the strip is connected. Again, a lot of these strips have blocks that have been attached to them Make sure that that is tight. The other problem that you have is that the strips do get dirty, so make sure that you clean them off regularly. Grounding problems with the cloth strips are generally just that, dirt. They do attract a lot of dirt, and it will build up to the point where you can have enough dirt there that it will prevent this tip from grounding properly against the strip. So when you go out, one of the first things you do is check the tip, make sure it's clean, and then press it against the floor where you think the problem is. Try to dust it off, see if that remedies the problem. If it doesn't, then go and check the grounding wires, make sure that those are still connected. Another common strip call is for remotes not working. Sometimes they become unsynchronized with the machines, or the batteries die. A real quick check to make sure that you have a functioning remote is to take out your phone, put it on camera mode, point the remote towards the camera, and press any of the buttons. If it's working properly, the camera will pick up the IR signal that's coming off the remote and it will light up. If not, then 9 times out of 10 you probably have a bad battery and you need to replace it. When you make these calls, make sure, depending upon what type of machines you're using in the tournament, that you go out with a clean set of batteries. Either a 9-volt for the Favaro or AAA's for the SG12s and 21s. The SG31s, which are the big machines that we use for finals, have a separate rechargeable battery pack on the inside. These can be replaced, but it requires you taking apart the remote, desoldering the battery, and replacing it. That's something that you're not probably going to do in a local event. The other problem that you have with machines are them resetting themselves. Check to make sure that your power strips that you're using to power them are plugged in. Also, make sure that referees or fencers are not using your power strips to recharge their cell phones. With them manipulating or pulling these in and out, sometimes it can cause a short that will cause the machine to turn itself off and then turn itself back on. There are some times where on the larger machines that they will start malfunctioning. This means that they're either getting hot or the registries inside, the little computers inside them, are getting full. What you can do is during a break, turn the machine off. It should reset and then work properly. Thank you for watching this segment from the Armorer's Store's series on armoring. I hope that you'll check out some of our other segments, and once you finish them all, if you have any questions, please feel free to contact me at michael@thearmorerstore.com. If you have any suggestions for future videos, I'd be more than happy to talk to you about them. Also, please check out this website, thearmorerstore.com, for any of our products, either the books or the test equipment or the tools. Again, thank you for watching. Good fencing and good armoring.